Hi, my name is Jennifer Troches McLean, and I'm an elementary school teacher for Los Angeles Unified, and I'm currently working in Local District East. So today what I wanted to do was share a couple of ideas that I use in my classroom and that I quickly found out were very helpful for me to establish community within a virtual learning environment. During the pandemic, our classroom was uprooted, and my little second graders and I were put in an environment where we had to meet and try to connect online in order to finish the school year. And I made the mistake of assuming that because we had been working on community throughout the year, that would automatically transfer in this new learning environment. And it didn't. It was, imagine my surprise when my students and I connected the first few times via Zoom, and we were just kind of looking at each other. I mean, I was talking to them and I was trying to teach them, but it wasn't the same. And my kids were reserved and very quiet, and they were very hesitant to share in this new learning environment. And I couldn't blame them. They were second graders, and all of a sudden they were put in a situation where school was no longer what they knew all their life, but school was us connecting via a computer screen and trying to teach and learn within a space that looked like their house, because it was, and did not give us the physical space to do all the work that we were used to doing in our classrooms. So I made the decision to quickly pull the things that I did every year for my classroom environment to help build that strong sense of community and reintroduce it into our virtual learning environment. So I wanted to share with you just 3 of the things that I did in order to help do that. The first thing I did was open up our classroom every time we met via Zoom with Community Circle. And Community Circle I learned about when I was a student teacher years ago. And it is something that I learned from when I was a student teacher and was assigned the book Tribes from the Tribes Learning Community as part of my reading at that time. And Community Circle is one of those activities that I draw from every school year, starting from the first day of school through the last day of school, because it helps instill a lot of the values that I want my students to know, to be able to know that they have choice to speak up, and to also learn how to listen to others and respect each other in our space, in our classroom environment. So we started doing Community Circle, but I realized that I had to make some slight modifications, and that required me asking my students to bring their favorite stuffed toy or stuffed animal to the class to use as that talking piece, because we no longer could share and face the teddy bear from our classroom, nor face each other within a circle. And that was the other modification I had to make. I realized that I had to start asking my students to always open our classroom session online by switching over to gallery view so that we can see each other when we do circle. And I also had to do a little bit more prompting and scaffolding for my students, because there was no longer that natural progression that we had when we would open Community Circle and just went around the circle. My students still had the opportunity to pass if they chose to, because they were never required or forced to do so. And we tried our best within our new virtual learning environment to honor the etiquette and the norms that we had established in the classroom. Sometimes it was a challenge, but most often it was we were successful. And it really, after doing this for about a week, started to transform our virtual learning space and making it feel like the classroom environment, kind of that like we shared when we were physically in the same classroom. Community Circle, which is also supported by the many offerings that we have from the district around restorative justice and social and emotional learning, allowed my students and I to reconnect again. And within no time, we were able to have the type of relationship and rapport that we were having in the classroom, we were able to experience again virtually. And for all the students who wanted it, it was there for them. I also, during our time, together virtually, made sure that if I was still doing read alouds with my students or doing digital story time, that I was looking for stories that still represented a variety of people and abilities in our classroom and in our society. I think that's very important, and it's another building block that is needed in a classroom environment that's going to try to create a safe and learning environment for all its students. So that was another thing that I chose to do to help build that positive community within our virtual learning environment. I just wanted to take a few moments to share my screen with you so I can share with you some of the places that I'd like to go to look for um, lesson plans and other resources for me to bring into my classroom that I think are very important to helping me build community. So when we go to our website, I just click on the search button and I enter AEMP, which stands for the Academic English Mastery Program. And once you entered the search button and you do one more thing, which is to click on this link, you arrive at the Academic English Mastery Program's website and their main page on the main page of their website. And just really quickly, I always like to come back here periodically because there's always a wealth of information and professional development opportunities for me as an educator, but also opportunities for my students that I can use to help my students shine. Now, CLR stands for Culturally and Linguistically Responsive Teaching and Learning. And this way of looking at classrooms and this pedagogy is really asking us as teachers to be cognizant of students in our classroom who are culturally and linguistically underserved, not only in our schools but in our communities. And I find that when I use their lessons, my students are engaged and are motivated to work with each other. And I also find that this contributes to building community within my classroom. And there are many lessons here that are available by grade level. So you just go ahead and click on the grade level that you're interested in. And I'd like to check periodically because there may be something new that has been uploaded. And then, of course, when I change grade levels, this is one of my go-tos. But I wanted to just quickly share with you the discussion and participation protocols and where you can find them, because I find that these protocols have been like game changers. They have allowed me to work with my students in a manner that they perceive to be fun and engages them, and all of a sudden my participation can go from like 5% of my students who are raising their hands to like up to 100%, depending on the strategy or the protocol that I use. So when you click on discussion protocols, it'll take you to this page, which you can export as a PDF and go ahead and print. But here's some of the discussion protocols that I use with my classrooms, depending on the activity. And then, of course, some of us are familiar with Jigsaw and Think, Pair, Share. But when I'm looking for something different or some other way to engage my students, this is one place that I'd like to go back to refresh my memory and to look at what can be best meet the needs of my students. If you go back to their page and you click on the dice, you see the participation protocols. And if you click on that, that takes you to another page that can be exported as a PDF. And these are a lot of fun. My students love to raise a righteous hand, but of course, in a virtual learning community, it's been about giving thumbs up. They still raise their hands, but there's features within Zoom when we video conference that I use and take advantage of. So sometimes they're not raising a righteous hand, but they're inputting information or responding via chat or giving me a thumbs up. I love Whip Around. That one, if I give my students an opportunity to just think, our wait time, and I let them know that we're going to go around the classroom as so everybody can share. I find that, well, 100% of my students are participating, but it also gives my students an opportunity to practice their presentation and oral skills, as well as to develop their self-confidence in being able to speak up and share with others in our classroom. The social emotional learning webpage within our school district's website is also a valuable resource for me. They also offer professional development, and they also offer resources centered around the 4 competencies that they focus on, which is growth mindset, self-efficacy, self-management, and social awareness. And I find that when I also incorporate these elements into my classroom instruction, um, it often leads to building and fostering and nurturing that classroom environment where we have a strong sense of community. So I wanted to just quickly share with you um, this website, because I also found more recently that they've uploaded additional resources that we can use during the time that we were engaged during distance learning. And what's really nice about these resources is that they are set up by grade bands. And when you click on them, it takes you to another page that can also be exported as a PDF. And there are a multitude of links that provide different types of lessons and videos that we could all use in our classroom. And this is something that was very helpful as well when we made that transition into a virtual learning environment. And it's definitely something that I will be going back to as I plan for our next school year. As I reflect, because it is the end of the school year, and reflect on the learning that has happened because of the changes that we had to manage this school year, and as I think about what lays ahead for us as we await to see what our new school year will bring, I'm feeling even more confident that the need to develop and foster and build a strong sense of community is one of the most important things that we can still do for our students, whether it's in our physical classroom spaces or if we have to do it virtually when we connect with them online. I am committed to looking at all the different things as I plan ahead, looking at all the activities, the icebreakers, the strategies, the get to know you activities, and even the artwork that we do as part of growing community. I'm going to look at it with a different lens and find and explore ways that I can make that happen, if it has to happen again, within a virtual learning space.